Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I'm back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I've received over the last 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you are currently taking, not taking, or considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. All right, let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Nick, I've been getting very nauseous lately whenever I work out. The only thing that I've changed is that I have a protein shake before I work out now because I have to train later in the day due to my work schedule. I can get rid of the shake, but I feel I need something in my stomach before I train if I train this late into the day. What would you recommend I do? My shake consists of Vega protein powder, peanut butter, collagen, and almond milk. Okay, so you're right. If you train later on in the day, you're definitely going to want to have something in your stomach. Okay, if you wake up at, let's say, 7 in the morning and you're training at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I would not recommend training in a fasted state. You've been up for a good 8 hours. You want to make sure that you're hydrated. You want to make sure that you're well fed, and you want to make sure that those glycogen storages are nice and full. So when you go and lift the weights, you have the energy and the strength to do so. Okay. Now, if you're someone who trains earlier in the day, let's say you train at 7 in the morning, you wake up at 6 a.m. You can train in a fasted state. In fact, majority of my clients who train with me before 9 a.m. in the morning, they all train in a fasted state and they're fine. The reason for this is that they still have food from in their system from the day before. And honestly, when you're only up for 2 or 3 hours upon waking, you should be okay. Maybe you need a cup of coffee, a double shot of espresso, whatever it is, but you don't necessarily need to have food in your system because you still have the food from the day before. Now, the longer you go, though, your body starts to break down that food and you're going to need something more to, as I said, replenish those glycogen storages and give you the energy to train later on in the day. In your case, what I see here is that you're doing fats in that shake, and that's most likely the culprit as to why you're feeling that nauseated during your workouts. I've talked about this in the past, how healthy fats are excellent. In fact, I recommend everyone consume not just a moderate amount of healthy fats, but a high amount of healthy fats in their diet, not just for performance and overall health, but also just in general. Fats allow you to think more clearly. So you'll actually be more productive throughout the day. Okay. So it's important to consume fats, but the one time a day that you don't want to consume fats is right before you go to the gym. Okay. Why? Well, fats take longer for the body to digest. The last thing you want to be doing during a workout or a run or any exercise for that matter is having your body digesting food. If anything, you want your body to be ready, set to go and train with the utmost amount of intensity. It can't do that if it's digesting food. And that's most likely why you're feeling nauseous. So my recommendation would be to either get rid of the fats and get rid of the shake, or keep the shake and just get rid of the fats and incorporate something like oats. You can throw in half a cup of dry oats instead. So you're replacing the fats for a carbohydrate source. Okay. So if you're someone who wants to have that shake, maybe it's for convenience, maybe it's in between meetings and you're going to the gym and you don't have time to cook something, keep the shake in, just take out the peanut butter and put in the oats. If you do have time to have a whole meal source, my recommendation would be to have something like chicken breast, brown rice, tilapia with yams. You could have lean ground turkey with sweet potatoes, right? So there's options, or you could just cook up half a cup of oats with some protein powder. If you're a vegetarian, you could do egg whites. We could throw in like some sweet potatoes, yams, quinoa, whatever you want. But I would stay away from the healthy fats pre-workout. So still make sure you're incorporating lots of healthy fats throughout the day. Okay, I'm not telling you not to have almonds, walnuts, peanut butter, almond butter, cashew butter, omega-3 eggs, extra virgin olive oil. I'm telling you to have those foods, but put them out strategically. So if you're going to work out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you wake up at 7 a.m., have them in the morning. But as you get closer to that workout time, start to back off those fats. Give your body at least a 2-3 hour window where you don't have any fats before you train. Okay, if you work out first thing in the morning, save your fats for later on in the day, post-workout. That's fine. Okay, but rule of thumb, I strongly advise people not to have fats pre-workout for this exact reason. Very few people can get away with that unless you have a crazy fast metabolism. I wouldn't advise it. Okay, because even myself, who actually does have a fairly fast metabolism, I can't have fats pre-workout for that exact reason, because I feel like my stomach is digesting the fats and I start to feel very lethargic and I do get a little bit nauseous. Okay. So try taking out the peanut butter, replace it for something like oats. You can have dry oats. There's nothing wrong with having dry oats. Put like half a cup or a third of a cup of dry oats in there and, put that in your blender, have that as your shake, see how that feels. And you most likely will notice that the nausea goes away. If it doesn't, take out the shake and replace it for a whole meal source. So like I said, chicken and brown rice, tilapia, yams, lean ground turkey with sweet potatoes, something like that. You could do egg whites with quinoa, whatever it is, but just have a lean protein source with a complex carbohydrate source. All right, next question. Nick, I don't feel like I'm working my triceps when I do dumbbell kickbacks. Do you think I should stop doing this exercise or keep doing it until I feel the proper muscles engaging? Yeah, so dumbbell kickbacks are a tricky one, right? Because they require you to bend over, keep your arms up, and really try to focus on squeezing the back head of your triceps. Now, the reason why this is difficult for most people, especially men, is because we are very tight in our rhomboids and scapula. So for us to retract our arms, keep them up while holding a weight and doing a dumbbell kickback bent over, that's very challenging on our stabilizers. So that's why most people opt for cables, whether it be a rope extension or V-bar press down or straight bar press down. People like cables for their triceps. But with my own clients, I always recommend to get at least 2 or 3 free weight exercises for your triceps, in addition to 2 or 3 exercises on the cables for your triceps. So I'm not going to tell you to take the kickbacks out. What I will tell you to do, though, is to lighten the weight. Okay. Dumbbell kickbacks are not a mass builder. They're more of a defining exercise. They're more of what I call painting your house. Skull crushers, that would be building your house. That's more of a mass builder, but kickbacks are more of a defining exercise. So you're kind of just tweaking, you're perfecting that muscle. Okay. So dumbbell kickbacks, my recommendation is to save them towards the end of your workout, once your elbows are nice and warmed up, and also to go a little bit lighter. But if you really want to feel a dumbbell kickback, hold it on the concentric contraction, which would be the up phase, for a good 1, 2, 3 count. So you do a static contraction, 1, 2, 3, and then release. And try to fully extend that elbow. When you do that, you're going to have to go lighter. You're not going to be doing this with 40-pound dumbbells. You're going to be doing this with maybe 12 or 15-pound dumbbells. But when you go lighter and you do that static contraction, you're going to feel that muscle like you've never felt it before. If you're still having difficulty feeling that muscle, my recommendation, do one arm at a time. So you do 15 reps to your right side, then do 15 reps to your left side. Okay. Because if you're doing an exercise isolaterally, where you're just focusing all in on that one side, that mind to muscle connection is greater. And then once you start to feel it in that tricep, then you can do both arms. Okay. But before you do that, my recommendation, take the weight, drop it in half. So if you're doing dumbbell kickbacks with 25-pound dumbbells, take a pair of 12s and try that first. Incorporate the static contractions, do that hold, 1, 2, 3 up, bring it down controlled, never just drop the weight, control it, and go back and do it again, 1, 2, 3 up. I guarantee you're going to feel your triceps. Absolutely. I do this with a lot of clients when they're having issues feeling certain muscle groups, even if it's their back. Say they're doing a seated row, say, I don't feel my back, I feel my biceps. So I say, okay, no problem. We're going to drop the weight. We're going to put, in this case, we're going to wear grabbers or straps so we don't use our forearms and our biceps. And every time you retract, I want you to give me at 1, 2, 3 count hold. And after a few sets, they really start to feel that muscle, because the static contraction allows the motor neurons in your brain to tell the muscles, okay, we need to actually contract, squeeze, and hold. And that's how you're going to establish a stronger mind to muscle connection. Once you establish that mind to muscle connection, then you don't have to do those holds anymore, because you'll know exactly how to connect the motor neurons to your muscle spindles so you get that contraction. So that's my recommendation. Static contractions, in my opinion, are one of the most underrated exercises that people do in the gym. And if you're having difficulty creating that mind to muscle connection, I highly advise you to incorporate them throughout your workouts with whatever exercises you're having difficulty with. All right. Okay. Nick, would it be so bad to have 2 slices of bread each day? I'm trying to lose weight, but I don't want to give up bread completely. Would it be better to have this at the beginning of the day so I have the rest of the day to burn it off? Okay. 2 questions here. I'm going to answer your second question first. Would it be better to have this at the beginning of the day so you have the rest of the day to burn it off? There's a misconception out there that people think they burn less calories towards the end of the day when they're sleeping, as opposed the beginning of their day when they're sitting at an office desk. Okay. Unless you yourself are someone who is fairly active, you're on your feet all day, you're working out 6, 7 days a week, you're moving, you're not, unless you're that person, you're not burning more calories seated at a desk working on a computer than you would be seated at home watching TV or going to bed. In fact, you burn more calories sleeping than you do sitting. Okay. So you got to get that thought process out of your head. Okay. So don't bank your calories or put all your calories in at the beginning of the day and then try to eat less at night. Okay. That's an old misconception. I call it bro science, the whole no carbs after 6, all that nonsense. There is no scientific data backing this claim. Zero. Okay. So don't kid yourself by saying, hey, I'm going to have that pastry in the morning because I've got all day to burn it off. Not true. Okay. That doesn't work like that. The body doesn't work like that. Okay. Unless you yourself are going to the gym regularly, you're running, you're exercising. Yeah, you're going to burn it off. But if you're like the average sedentary person who might go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week and you have that muffin or pastry, or in your case, bread in the morning, you're not going to really burn much more calories in the day than you will at night. Okay. So you got to get rid of that thought process. Now, to answer your question about the bread, the reason I don't like bread is because bread is not nutritious. Bread offers us zero nutritional value whatsoever. And people will say to me, well, what about whole wheat bread? I don't give a fuck about whole wheat bread. Sorry, but I don't. And here's the thing is that we're looking for complex carbohydrate sources. The only reason, in my opinion, you should be consuming carbohydrates is for energy. Okay. And so if you're someone who is not very active, you don't need that many carbohydrates. If you're someone who is active, though, yes, you're going to require more carbohydrates to replenish glycogen storages. I talked about this in one of the first questions. So if you're someone who goes to the gym once or twice a week, you could probably get away with following a fairly low to no carbohydrate diet, although I don't recommend following zero carbohydrate diets. Okay. More like a ketosis plan. Now, in your case with the bread, again, it's not that I say don't have bread, because if you actually look at my nutritional plans, I recommend people have things like Ezekiel bread or carbonal bread. But why do I recommend these breads? They don't contain flour. Flour is not good for us. Okay. When you consume highly processed foods that contain flour, again, they're going to make you feel lethargic. So it's not that they directly go into your stomach and create fat cells. That's not what happens. But you yourself are exerting a lot less energy. And you start to notice people who go and they have like lunch and they have a sandwich for lunch, they get that crash in the afternoon and they need that pick me up. Well, what's happening is when you have highly processed food and you combine that with simple carbohydrates, your blood sugar levels spike, your insulin levels drop, and then you start craving more carbs. This is not a good thing. Okay. This is why I recommend people consume complex carbohydrate sources like the yams, sweet potatoes, quinoa, brown rice, oats, cream of rice, Ezekiel bread, or carbonal bread. Okay. So I would not advise having white bread or even whole wheat bread. Okay. They offer no nutritional benefits whatsoever. You want to have it, save it for a cheat meal. So in your case, I wouldn't recommend consuming regular bread. I'd try to get on the Ezekiel bread if you're not already doing so, or the carbonal bread. Those are both great options. I put them on my nutritional plans for clients that like to have bread. I personally don't eat bread. I haven't had bread in 30 plus years for the simple reason it offers no nutritional value. When I've had it, it makes me feel like crap. It makes me feel tired. It makes me feel lethargic. I start craving more carbohydrates. I don't want to feel like that, so I avoid it. Okay, so that's my recommendation. I would avoid bread that comes with flour. Stick to the Ezekiel bread, stick to the carbonal bread. Those are excellent choices. Okay. Nick, between Christmas and all the holiday parties I have to attend this month, I'm thinking of just taking a break from the gym until January. I'm wondering how much this will set back my progress if I take a 4 to 5 week off, 4 to 5 week period off from the gym. This will depend what you're doing in that 4 to 5 weeks. Are you sabotaging your diet? Are you eating fattening foods? Are you eating calorically dense foods? Are you drinking every night? Because that can set you back quite a bit. If you're not going to gym for 4 to 5 weeks, but your diet is dialed in, you're going to lose maybe a little bit of muscle. You're going to lose a little bit of strength, but you're not going to, put on piles of fat, right? Because your diet's still dialed in. But I would not advise you to take 4 to 5 weeks off the gym unless you absolutely need to, right? Maybe you're recovering from a surgery. There could be some stresses in your life that you need to take care of some family obligations, but taking it off for Christmas and holiday parties, to me, that's not really a good reason. It sounds to me like more of an excuse. Because if anything, this is the time of year where you should be in the gym even more. Because yes, you are going to be attending holiday parties. There's going to be Christmas functions that you're going to have to attend. You're probably going to have to consume foods that you wouldn't normally consume on your diet. Calorically dense food. You're probably going to be drinking more if you're someone who drinks alcohol. So because of all this, you want to be in the gym burning those calories off. Because if you're not burning those calories, guess what? You're going to be transferred over to fat, right? You're going to hold on to them. So we don't want that. We need to burn those calories. The way I've always looked at Christmas and all the holidays is that this is great. I have more calories in my system. So A, I should be stronger. B, my workout should be way more intense, right? So because I'm consuming extra calories, maybe I have a few Christmas dinners, I actually feel stronger in the gym. So I'm going to utilize those calories to my benefit. Okay. So I would not advise you to take time off at this time of year. I've had people do that and it usually backfires in their face because most people are not dialing in their diets during Christmas. Most people are sabotaging their diets. And if you're going to sabotage your diet, you want to make sure you're burning those calories because you don't want them to get stored as body fat. And I promise you, they will get stored as body fat if you're not burning them off. Okay. So you don't want to be coming off December into January with the Christmas hangover and be that person that's put on 5 to 10 pounds. Because I work with people who have done that. They've made that mistake. And, you know, it's kind of like the fool me once. Once they've done it once, they never do it again. Most, if not all my clients actually train more with myself or one of our trainers during this time of year because they know that their diet's going to go to shit. They know that maybe their sleep is going to go to shit. So the one thing that they can control is their workouts. So they want to make sure that they're getting into the gym as much as possible, utilizing those calories to their benefit, and really trying to train with the utmost amount of intensity. So I would not advise you to do that. And like I said, 4 to 5 weeks off from the gym, it's not going to make a huge difference. But if you're sabotaging your diet and you're not exercising, yeah, you could easily put on 5 to 10 pounds of unwanted weight. So my recommendation, stay in the gym, utilize those calories to your benefit, and train with the utmost amount of intensity. Okay. Nick, is there a reason as to why I wake up super vascular in the morning? I have veins in both my legs and arms whenever I wake up, but those veins usually disappear after a few hours. Could be a combination of genetics along with your diet. Okay, so if, for example, you're someone who is fairly lean, there's a good chance that you're also very vascular. Okay, so you're that person who does get very vascular in your forearms or in your quadriceps or your calves. Okay, the leaner you are, the more vascular you're going to be. Now, if you're someone who also consumes a diet that's high in sodium, and you're not consuming enough water, there's a good chance that you're dehydrated in the morning. So that's going to bring out even more vascularity, right? We do that during bodybuilding shows. You know, we purposely dehydrate the body and load up on sodium dense foods, and that creates a more vascular look. Okay. Now, here's the thing. It's not necessarily something to be overly concerned about, but if it's causing problems, as in that you yourself are experiencing any pain in your lower back, you've got to make sure that you're hydrated, okay? Because that could be a problem. So if you're dehydrated, that's going to put a lot of stress on your kidneys and your organs. So if you're someone who is consuming a diet that is high in sodium, it could be from extra condiments that you're putting on your foods or just foods in general that you're consuming. You want to make sure you're staying hydrated. I understand that for a lot of people, when they have high sodium dense foods and then they consume a lot of water, they feel bloated. But I always tell people it's better to feel bloated than to be dehydrated, because being dehydrated is obviously very dangerous. Okay, so we don't want to be dehydrated. So I would be looking at the amount of water that you're drinking in addition to your diet. Okay, so like I said, if you're someone who is consuming foods that are very high in sodium, or you're using condiments that are high in sodium and you're not drinking enough fluid, that won't bring out the vascularity for sure. That in addition to lean body fat. Okay. So it's not something that I would recommend people strive to obtain though, because I know some people like that vascular look, especially guys, but you don't want to do it at the risk of screwing up your kidneys and your organs. Okay. So you want to make sure you're staying hydrated. Also, you need to be careful of how much sodium you're having in your diet. The body definitely does need sodium, absolutely, but it doesn't need an abundance. It doesn't need a huge amount of sodium. So that's why I always tell people when you're choosing certain foods or condiments, really make sure you're watching the amount of sodium that's in those foods and condiments. Okay. And definitely make sure you're piling back on the water. I always advise people to be consuming at least 2 to 3 liters of water each day. Okay. Man or woman, because you want to stay hydrated. Remember, the body's 80% water, so you need to keep it hydrated. Okay. So that's most likely the reason. It's a combination of genetics, you're most likely someone who's fairly lean, especially if you're seeing veins in your legs. And in addition, it's high sodium with not enough water in the diet as well. Okay, so those factors all contribute to a very vascular look. It's not a dangerous thing, but like I said, if you're not consuming enough water, you know you're not consuming enough water, you really want to make sure that you're staying hydrated throughout the night. Here's a rule of thumb. If you wake up thirsty, you're dehydrated. Okay, you should never wake up thirsty. You should always wake up and feel hydrated. Okay, so if you're someone who feels like super, super thirsty when you wake up, you're not drinking enough water throughout the day, and therefore you need to start consuming more water. Okay, watch your sodium intake. Make sure you're drinking at least 2 to 3 liters of water each day. Okay. Okay. Nick, I'm considering getting my boyfriend an Apple Watch for Christmas. He works out with weights 5 times a week. Do you recommend any other fitness trackers, or is the Apple Watch the best one on the market right now? You're asking the wrong person. I don't use fitness trackers. Never have, never will. The best fitness tracker that I can use for me is the mirror and the scale. Okay. I've always gone by how I look and how I feel. If I'm looking a little soft in the midsection, I cut back on my calories, right? If I feel like I'm not really putting on any more muscle or I'm not maintaining the muscle mass I have, I increase my calories. Okay. But some people find that having an Apple Watch or a fitness tracker, it helps hold them accountable. In that case, I would recommend getting one for sure, because if that's holding you accountable to get your runs in, if that's holding you accountable to stay on track with your diets, if it's counting your calories, your macronutrients, by all means, do it. But if you're someone who's fairly self-motivated and self-disciplined, you don't need one of those fitness trackers. You can just do what I do and look at the mirror and look at the scale. That's what I do when I do people's weekly check-ins. I ask them their weight. They send me photos. I say, okay, well, we're not looking how I want you to look. You're feeling like crap. We're going to either increase your fats, decrease your carbohydrates, rotate your proteins, whatever it may be. But those are the two factors I look at primarily, is how someone looks and how someone feels. Of course, energy levels, quality of sleep, those play factors as well. But the two most common ones that I look at are how someone looks and how someone feels. If someone's looking great, but they feel like crap, I'm going to make changes to the plan. Okay. And vice versa, right? If someone's, they're not losing weight and it's quite obvious in their photos on the scale, and they're like, well, you know what, I feel great. I'm like, well, it's up to you. Do you want to lose that extra body weight, or are you happy where you are? So it's really you have to communicate with your client and figure out what works for that individual. Okay. So I can't really tell you much about Apple Watches. I obviously don't own an Apple Watch. But it sounds to me like if your boyfriend's already training in the gym 5 times a week, he's fairly self-motivated. I mean, I don't know what his workouts look like, but if he's training intensely, he probably doesn't even need that. So I know if someone were to buy me an Apple Watch, I wouldn't use it. So it'd be a waste of money. So I think it's just really knowing the person who's training. If it's someone who's trying to go to the gym and trying to make a change in his or her lifestyle, but is having a hard time staying on track and having that accountability, then my recommendation is to get something like an Apple Watch, because I think for a lot of people, it does hold them accountable, especially for people who don't have a personal trainer, or maybe who can't afford to work with a personal trainer. That's the accountability right there, right? An Apple Watch or some type of fitness tracker, MyFitnessPal, whatever it may be. I don't see anything wrong with that, but it really depends on the individual. So I've always gone by the mirror and the scale, how I feel, and that's how I've made changes. And I've been doing that since I first started doing this back when I was 14 years old. And even throughout the years I competed in bodybuilding shows, it was always how I look, how I feel. Do I look okay? No, I need to add on more muscle. Okay, back to the drawing board. Time to change up my workouts, time to add more calories into my diet. Maybe if I need to lose body fat, add in more cardio, whatever it may be. But I always looked at those two markers as how I look, how I feel. And that's what kept me accountable for my workouts and for my diet for the past, 20 plus years. So that's what worked for me. All right. Okay, a few more questions. Nick, I heard you say on another Q&A that you don't do cheat meals. What's the reason for this if you give your clients cheat meals on their diets? So I'm not normal. I honestly look at food as just fuel. It's not that I don't enjoy food, but there's no foods that I look forward to. And a lot of people say, well, that's not a healthy relationship with food. And, I actually disagree with that, because I have a very healthy relationship with food. I enjoy all the foods that are on my diet. There's no meal that I dread having. I've learned over the last 20 years how to make my meals taste good. And I've learned over the years on how to enjoy them because they give me the energy and productivity that I need to get my day done. Okay. So whether that be with my business or my workouts, the food I eat allows me to stay energized throughout the day. And I don't need to rely on a whole bunch of stimulants. I've talked about this in the past. I only have one coffee a day. I don't need to rely on sugar. I have less than 30 grams of sugar, natural sugar in my diet on a daily basis. I probably have less than that because my body has learned to operate on healthy fats, complex carbohydrates, and lean proteins. Okay. That didn't happen overnight. That took time. Now, what I find for me is when I have a cheat meal or when I used to have cheat meals back when I competed, they actually threw me off, not physically. Yeah, physically, I felt like fine. I was okay to like, I didn't affect my weight. It didn't affect how I looked. But mentally, it was really difficult for me to get back in the gym because I did feel a little bit more lethargic. I didn't sleep well. Whenever I had a cheat meal, I never slept well. So that affected my workout. And it could be the increase in simple carbohydrates, the increase in processed sugar, whatever it was affecting my quality of sleep, which in turn affected the next day, which in turn affected how I worked out, how I conducted myself on the floor with clients. So I'm like, you know what? I don't need this. What am I doing this for? For 15 minutes of pleasure or something that tastes good? Don't need it. For 15, 20 minutes of something that tastes great, whether it's a big bowl of pasta or piece of cake, whatever it is, and then to pay for it, in my case, for a day or two after, it wasn't worth it. So I stopped having cheat meals probably about in 2020, right around when COVID started. I just felt I didn't need them anymore. So the reason I recommend them to clients is because most people are normal and most people do enjoy food and most people like to go out for dinner and have something that's not on their diet plan. And that's fine. When I go out for dinner, I usually have something that's on my diet plan. I usually pick a restaurant that will cook me chicken and rice, or will cook me, something like a salmon and quinoa, right? So I can find those foods at the restaurants that I choose to go to. But if I were to go to, I don't know, the Boston Pizza or something, I probably couldn't find something on my diet, which is why I don't go to places like Boston Pizza. Okay. So it all depends on the individual I'm working with. I do have some clients that are like me that don't like cheat meals. They actually find that the cheat meals throw them off for other reasons. Could be because it throws them on a downward spiral. They start to binge afterwards. So could trigger something emotionally for them, mentally. There's a lot of emotional eaters out there. So for those people, what I usually recommend is to have something on their diet, but just more of it. So for example, I have some clients that really enjoy peanut butter. So I'm like, okay, you know what? For your last meal on Friday night, I want you to have 3 extra tablespoons of peanut butter in your oatmeal. Okay. Don't worry about the calories. And for them, you know what? That's something extra and it's something they enjoy and it doesn't disrupt their sleep. It makes them feel fine. They don't have any problems and it's good. So, I mean, it depends on the individual, but I've never been someone who needs food to reward myself with food, I should say, or to make myself feel better. Okay. And that's not saying anything bad about people who like to have cheat meals. That's just for me. I've just never, food, I can take it or leave it. As long as it gives me the energy I need to lift the weights and to be productive in my business, that's all I care about. Okay. And if you look in my fridge right now, all my meals are pre-made. They're the same meals I've been having for the past 5, 6 years. I do change up my protein sources, my carbohydrate sources from time to time, where I'll do maybe fish for 6 months and I'll do poultry for 6 months. And sometimes I'll do fish for 2 years and then I'll switch over to chicken and turkey for 2 years, whatever it is. Sometimes I'll stick with sweet potatoes and yams and I'll switch over to quinoa and brown rice. I do make rotations periodically throughout the year or sometimes every few years, but the foods don't change for me. I'm just not a food person. But I do understand that people do like variety, and I do understand that people do like to have cheat meals, which is why I include them in clients' programs. Okay. Okay. Nick, I train with weights 6 times a week, but I'm still not losing any fat. I think I need to start doing more cardio. Would it make more sense to take my weightlifting down to 3 times a week and add in 3 hour cardio sessions instead? Oh, 3 hour cardio sessions instead. So not 3 hours a day. Three 1 hour cardio sessions instead, I think is what you mean. I hope that's what you mean. Don't do 3 hours of cardio a day. I'm not sure what to do as I really want to lose the fat around my midsection right now. Okay, so what you're doing right now in the gym 6 times a week, that to me is a great training split. I'm assuming you're on a bodybuilding training split, hoping you're on a bodybuilding training split where you're training one muscle group or maybe 2 muscle groups in each workout. That's great. Now, when it comes to the fat loss, okay, if you're working out intensely, that should help you burn some calories. But you're right, you're not going to burn enough calories to lose that body fat. So you could add in more cardio. Would I recommend taking out 3 weighted sessions and trading them in for cardio sessions? No. Okay. And there's a few reasons for this. One is that when you take out weight training sessions, you're going to lose muscle mass. You are, because if you're someone who's training 6 days a week and you go down to 3 days a week, you are going to lose muscle mass because your body's so used to you training 6 days a week. So you're going to get the muscle mass as someone who trains 3 days a week. Okay, that's one thing. So now that you have less muscle, you're not going to be burning the same amount of calories in a rested state. Because as I've talked about in the past, the more muscle mass you're carrying, the more calories you yourself are going to burn in a rested state. So that's one reason. Another reason is that with cardio itself, if you're constantly relying on cardio to burn fat, well, once you lose, let's say that 10, 15 pounds of fat, your body's going to continue to rely on that cardio to lose that fat or to keep that fat off. So once you lose those 10, 15 pounds and you've been doing your 3 1-hour cardio sessions a week, say, oh, I can go back to weights. Not necessarily. Your body now becomes reliant on those cardio sessions. So this is another reason why I don't recommend training like this. Okay. In my opinion, you're better off looking at your diet. Okay. And you didn't mention what your diet looks like, but I can guarantee you, if you were to send me your diet, I'd probably find some red flags in there that's not helping you lose fat. Because if your diet's dialed in and you're training with weights 6 days a week, I don't care if you're not doing any cardio, you're going to lose body fat. Okay. And when you hit that plateau, then and only then is when we start adding in cardio. But if you ask anyone who's ever worked with me on a fat loss program, I slowly start to increase cardio. I don't just add in 1 hour a day. I might start someone that say, okay, after your weighted workout, I want you to do 15 minutes of cardio. That's it. You can do it on the elliptical, do it on a treadmill. You don't have to go crazy, intense. You can do just, steady pace cardio on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being easy, 10 being difficult. Keep your cardio pace at a 7. Okay. So do that for 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden they lose a pound in 1 week. Great. All right. Next week, they don't lose any weight. All right. So now we go back to the drawing board. Do we need to tweak your diet or do we need to increase your cardio? 9 times out of 10, I can get that person to lose another pound if I just tweak their diet without touching their cardio. Okay. And then once we start making those revisions from a week to week basis, and now we start hitting plateaus and I don't want to cut any more calories, then and only then is when I start to add in more cardio. Okay. Now you've only lost 4 pounds in the last 6 weeks. Let's start increasing your cardio to 20 or 25 minutes a day. Okay. That's it. Okay. And you will get down, because the problem is when people start doing too much cardio, they hit a plateau too quickly. It's like, and I've talked about this before, it's like going to a gunfight and shooting all your bullets in the air right away. Now you have no more ammunition. What are you going to do? Right. So you can cut your calories more. You can do 4 hours of cardio a day. So less is best. So that's why you make little revisions, little tweaks along the way. Through your diet and cardio, and even through your resistance training. Your resistance training can change as well. If you're someone who does basic straight set training and you say, well, my workouts are hard, but I feel like I'm not sweating, I might recommend, okay, start doing some circuit training or start adding in some supersets, drop sets, giant sets, because that's going to get your heart rate up. That's going to allow you to work the cardiovascular. You talk to anyone who does drop sets with me on leg day in a squat rack, their heart's going easily 160, 170 a minute. Easily. Okay. So that's going to work your cardiovascular system. So you can change up that as well. But I would not advise you to take out 3 resistance training sessions and implement 3 cardiovascular training sessions for the sole purpose to lose body fat. I think that's a mistake. Okay. I think keep your workouts the way they are. Look at your diet. And if you're not sure where to make changes with your diet, work with someone who can help you, whether it's myself or another knowledgeable, reputable coach that can help you with your nutritional plan, because diet really is 50%. It's not 80% like some people say. It's 80% diet, 20% training. It's 50-50. Okay. But you can't be having a perfect training program and a shitty diet and expect to see great results. They need to be together. You need to have your diet dialed in along with your training program. The two are just as important. Okay. So look at your diet. And if your diet is dialed in, then start saying, okay, where do I need to make the changes? Should I be adding in just a little bit of cardio a day? Because even if you add in that 15 minutes, if you're not doing any cardio right now, that's going to make a difference. It will. It adds up, especially over the course of a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It does. And then look at your diet. Even if your diet is perfect, you might need to start dropping some calories. Okay. And once you do that, all of a sudden the pounds start coming off. So it can be done. Okay. You just have to be strategic and implement the plan that's going to work specifically for you. All right. Okay, last question. Nick, could you please tell me the purpose of lifting weights up in the air and then dropping them to the ground? The gym I train at has classes that do this, and it's so disruptive. Are these exercises supposed to build muscle? The people I see doing them don't seem to be in good shape and rest for a long time between sets. I'm not trying to make fun of anyone or put anyone down. I just don't understand what this type of lifting accomplishes. Okay, I'm going to have to agree with you on this. In my opinion, what you're talking about is a lot of these Olympic lifts. These lifts serve purpose if you're into Olympic lifting. If you're competing in Olympic lifting, sure, because that's a sport. That's the, you lift the weight up in the air, you throw it up over your head, and you drop it to the ground. I agree with you. I don't like that type of lifting. I think that type of lifting, this is my personal opinion, is ridiculous. I feel it offers little to no benefit whatsoever unless you yourself are an Olympic lifter. Okay. Most people who are doing these lifts are not competitive Olympic lifters. So why are they doing these lifts? Well, a lot of people are under the impression that these lifts are going to make you strong. These lifts are going to make you powerful. And they will make you strong for sure. They definitely will, because you're lifting a lot of weight in an explosive manner for 1, maybe 3 repetitions. But they're not going to do anything to your aesthetics. They're not going to help you build nice, solid, lean, dense muscle. They're not going to do anything for your cardiovascular system because you're only doing 1 to 3 repetitions. And overall, they're not really going to get you the results that the average person who's going to the gym is looking to achieve. Okay. So the problem is a lot of people go to these classes because they think, hey, this is going to allow me to lose body fat and build muscle. No, it's not. And I've yet to see any true classes that do Olympic lifting where the average person, we're talking the average person who is sitting for most of the day, most of the week, going to these classes is going to see any change in their physique. And that's why a lot of times people who do these classes, they don't last because they're like, well, I'm not getting any results out of this. Yeah, I'm stronger, but I don't see any benefits. My waist is still like, I'm still a size 38 in the waist if I'm a guy, right? I still have cellulite in my ass if I'm a woman. It's not changing anything. So then they quit. So in my experience, those types of lifts don't offer any benefit for the average sedentary person or the person who's coming to the gym who is hoping to transform their physique and improve their overall health and fitness. They offer numerous benefits for someone who says, I want to be an Olympic lifter. So great. You want to be an Olympic lifter, you go to those classes. If someone wants to be an Olympic lifter and they come to me, I say, I can't help you because I don't teach Olympic lifts. That's not what I do. My job for what I teach people and what I'm known to do is help people transform their aesthetics for the better and improve their quality of life, improve their health through exercise and nutrition. Okay. But I don't know shit about Olympic lifting. And I agree with you. I find those type of lifts to be incredibly disruptive. I hate it. They do them sometimes at my gym as well. And I don't like it because it's a nuisance. You constantly hear weights clanging on the ground. It is what it is. But if people enjoy that type of lifting, at least they're doing something. Okay, so that's better than just like sitting on the couch watching TV and eating chips. So at least you're moving your body to some degree. But I do believe that most people who do Olympic lifts would benefit more from following a bodybuilding type split, or you know what, even like CrossFit or cross training or some type of cardiovascular training. Because again, a lot of these people are under the impression that this type of lifting will help improve their aesthetics and improve their health when it won't do that. It will increase your strength, yes, but where in life do you need to do 1 or 2 repetitions on anything? You know, like what do you need to be doing a clean and press and dropping the weight down? I'm going to say that that's not a functional exercise. I know a lot of people will say it is, but I don't think it is. I think it's a ballistic movement. And that's my personal opinion. You know, someone can disagree with me on that. I've had people disagree with me in the past, and that's okay. But if you're asking my opinion as someone who's been in the industry for 20 plus years, if someone says to me, Nick, I want to lose 20 pounds of fat and I want to add on 10 pounds of muscle, I would not be doing my job if I advised them to say, oh yeah, go do Olympic lifts, because that's not going to do it. Okay. You need to be doing high volume training, high repetition training, minimal rest periods. Okay. And you need to obviously make sure your diet's dialed in. And that's another thing with these Olympic lifts. These people are taking 3 to 5 minutes of rest periods in between sets. That's necessary because the goal there is to increase your strength. In order to increase your strength, longer periods of rest is needed. I think 3 to 5 minutes is a little overkill personally. I've always been a firm believer that 45 seconds to 90 seconds max between sets to improve strength is adequate. But that's, again, my opinion. Okay. And I just come from a different culture. And the culture I come from is a bodybuilding background where it's about building a physique that you're proud of, a physique that you're proud to go to the beach and you feel good and confident in. No, you don't need to have a six pack, but you want to feel good. You don't want to have a 38 size waist if you're a guy. You don't want to have cellulite if you're a woman. Like, this is your goal. If you're okay with that, fine. But if your goal is to improve your aesthetics, improve your health, improve your fitness and overall quality of life, that type of training to me doesn't offer any benefits. Okay. So I hope that answers your question. To me, it's not a necessary or doesn't offer any benefits to someone who is looking to transform their physique and improve their health. But if you yourself are looking to become an Olympic lifter, I strongly advise you to take up that type of lifting, Olympic lifts, drop the weight however loud you want to, because that's definitely going to help you in your sport of choice. Anyway, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Monday, December the 2nd. As a reminder, if you do have any questions related to your diet, training, or supplementation, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for supporting my YouTube channel, my online coaching business, my in-house personal training business here in Vancouver, British Columbia. I truly do appreciate all the support and feedback that I receive from all of you. Thanks again, everyone, and have a great week. Bye for now.